I always tell you. So today is a wonderful day actually. I started the morning with a really good mood, and I'm sure that you have started your morning with a good mood too. If you are not, Good Morning Sri Lanka is going to get your mood right, so don't worry. Today as well, we have a very special guest on our show today. But before that, I would like to tell you that since the beginning of 2014, we've had many motivational speakers on our show, just to get 2014 a little bit better than the previous years of your life. Well, today as well, we have a very special guest on our show today, and she's a motivational speaker as well, and she has all sort of other criteria and so many other qualifications which I will mention to you later. But something very interesting about the guest today is that she's still in her 20s, but she's been a medical doctor, transformed into a 4D motivational coach. Now, I had no idea what a 4D motivational coach is, or who a 4D motivational coach is, before I met Dheena. Yes, that is Dheena, who is in our show today. Dr. Dheena Sadik, who is still in her 20s, speaks more than 6 languages, and who is a wonderful person to talk to. So let's welcome Dheena to GMSL. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you feeling?
I'm good, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I actually had a very good, very nice conversation with you before the show began.
Yeah.
And well, Dr. Dheena Sadik is also known as Dr. D. You must be wondering whether she's a rapper or anything, but she's not. Currently, I hope that she won't get into that in the future. But then, you never know, because she is such a multi-talented person, and she has so much of things that we can talk about on the show in order to get really good morning, jumpstart really good morning. And we have so much things to talk about with you, Dr. Dheena. Shall I call her Dr. D? Or?
Sure.
Okay, cool. I'm going to call her Dr. D from now on. So, there are so many things that I would like to ask you, but let's start from the beginning now. You told me before the show began that you have been doing the whole motivational speaking thing for a while. But before that, you've been a medical doctor. And then also you won debate competitions. You speak 6 languages. So how did that all come together? You're still in your 20s. I'm sure that for people who are watching us out there, it might be really huge. And especially for the youngsters out there, you might be like a really good inspiration. And so far, as you mentioned to me before, you already have a fan base. So let's start from the very beginning from your life. Tell us a bit about your childhood. Did you ever want to be a doctor when you were a child?
Well, Anupama, just like millions of other Sri Lankan 5-year-olds, somehow when I was in preschool, I had figured out what I wanted to be for the rest of my life. Usually, if you would go and ask the kids in nursery, what do you want to be when you get older? What do the guys say? Engineer or pilot?
Yes.
And the girls are like either a doctor or a teacher.
Yes,
right? So I was no different to all those 5-year-olds, and ever since I was 5, it was a childhood fantasy that I want to be a doctor. But somehow down the line, as we grow up, we tend to change. We become teenagers, and sometimes we think certain things are not possible, and then your interests just tend to evolve as you grow.
Yeah.
But for me, it was different. I was hell-bent on wanting to be a doctor.
Really? Okay.
Yes. But it only got serious, I would say, around the age of 13, because before that I was an average student.
Okay.
And I'm quite happy now that I wasn't one of those kids who was always first in class.
You're not the nerdy one.
Eventually I did become a nerd.
You became a nerdy one, but initially you were not.
Yes, I wasn't initially.
I was never the nerdy one. All right.
Yeah. So around the age of 13, I kind of had this epiphany, I would say, because you know that the first 3 in every grade is given, the reports are given at assembly, right?
Yes.
So I was there, seated in grade 6 amongst the audience, and in my life I had never been within the first 3. So at that point I just looked into the people, the students who were the first, second and third, and then I noticed that it's the same faces.
Right.
Over and over and over. And then at that point, I was just 12. I was thinking, are these going to be the future leaders? The ones who are constantly shining and got the spotlight. And just for the sake of knowing what it's like to work hard, from grade 7 I started to work really hard. And that's the point where I was becoming a nerd, I would say.
Right.
And then O-levels and A-levels went really well. And eventually I got, the seat to medical school in Pakistan.
That's amazing. Now, Pakistan was a focal point in your life, I heard. So, why don't you tell us how you got into medical college? You were in the People's Medical College?
Yes.
In Pakistan?
Yes.
So, how was that? I mean, I know that university life is, you know, one of those unforgettable phases in your life, because university life for me was personally unforgettable. So, how was it for you? How did that change you? I'm sure that you have so many experiences that you can share, but if you can share in a nutshell what university life was like for you.
If you would ask me to say it in one word, it would be a paradox.
Wow. Okay.
In the sense, if you would ask me to say it in 3 words, I would say it was a bittersweet symphony.
Nice. Okay.
Because yes, because I mean, I was born and raised in Colombo, right? And Colombo life is very, you know, metropolitan, and you get used to that busy life. And suddenly, after you are done with the Colombo life, I reached the city of Nawabshah, right? And it was a major culture shock for me,
right?
Because if I was to just give you the height of it, when I reached there with both my parents, they both came with me to drop me off the first time, and for us to make it to the college, it was heavy traffic on that day. And we all know, I mean, there's nothing magical about a traffic. So I'm really annoyed, and I just want to get to college. It's like my first day, and I'm like so excited. So I just want to see what's going on, and I just, you know, try to peep out of the, you know, like the vehicle and see what's going on. And a few vehicles beyond us, there were 3 camels.
Camels?
3 camels on the street. And then
is it similar to having elephants and cows in Sri Lanka walking across the street?
Yes. Yes.
Camels in Pakistan. Interesting. Okay.
So for the first time then, I took a really good look in broad daylight at where I was.
Okay.
And believe me, I mean, seriously, believe me, it felt like I had traveled back in time. Because there were men with long flowy beards, women in their burqas.
Oh, wow.
It really looked like what you would see on CNN, like Kabul, Afghanistan.
Oh my gosh.
And it was adventurous because it felt like I had jumped into Arabian Nights.
That's a nice way of putting it.
It really did feel that way. But then within a few seconds I kind of came to reality, and I literally pinched myself because for a couple of weeks it's fine. If it's a holiday, you want to go tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
But the idea of being there for 5 years, more than 5 years, it's a different story. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the beginning of it.
That was just the beginning.
Just the beginning. I'm wondering how the 5 years went now. Okay, I'm just
well, it was really challenging because for one thing, the weather is extreme. Nawabshah is known for extreme weather conditions.
Right. Yeah.
The summers go up to 56 degrees.
Okay, now that's somewhere that you really are glad that you're born in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
and I also heard that you had to learn Urdu.
Yes.
Just because you were in Pakistan.
Yes.
So how did
not just Urdu, but also another local language called Sindhi.
Sindhi.
Now, I was under the impression that everything's in English medium, and it officially is.
All right.
But what happens is when the professors give examples of, you know, something of daily experiences, they tend to, you know, be comfortable.
Use the local language.
So when I got there, I didn't know any Urdu except pani means water. That's it.
Wow, that's a really interesting story.
So yeah, and then 3 years down the line, I was able to somehow manage my Urdu. So I get to the clinical side, and I'm so excited to go and communicate with the patients.
Okay.
And then I start to ask them, "What's your name in Urdu?" And they're just blinking at me, you know. And I asked one of my colleagues, like, "Why isn't this patient responding?" And she said, "Oh, they don't understand Urdu. They only understand Sindhi."
Oh no!
Yes.
Okay,
so that
that's
was
how you
like,
got to know Hindi.
Yes, that's how I got to know Sindhi as well.
Yeah, nice.
But yes, but then somehow, you know, it took me a really long time to adapt because the weather conditions and the language and the food, and you know, everything is so different. You would think that considering it's a neighboring country almost, it would be similar. But it was a major culture shock for me. But I call it bittersweet because somewhere down the line I did adapt, of course, naturally, as we all do. And it became home to me. By the time I was in the final year, I just loved it there. And I learned a lot of life lessons. I would say, you know, it was meant to be a life school where I learned so much, which has shaped me to become who I am today.
That's amazing. I'm sure that gave you a good foundation to become a motivational person to motivate other people, to inspire other people to be like who you are, you know, to face challenges adequately. And so now, talking about Urdu and Sindhi, now I told the audience during the introduction that you speak 6 languages. So can you tell us a bit, I mean, how did that happen? You're still in your 20s and speaking 6 languages is pretty hard. And knowing, you know, being fluent in it is really, really hard. So how did that happen?
There's this saying that if you can master 3 languages, that you can actually speak any number of languages. And I think that's true because being Sri Lankans, most of us can manage Sinhalese, English and Tamil. So I was okay with the 3 of those when I got there. And when I reached there, you know, I had to learn Urdu, and the next is Hindi, because Hindi and Urdu are similar.
Yeah,
it's like similar. Originally, if you would take how they are, like in the real official way, they're different, but then there's a gray area in between.
Right.
So Sindhi was because of the patients, and I didn't really go for any language lessons. I just learned it the hard way, I would say, you know, because the workers and the patients, none of them really spoke any English.
It was a practical lesson.
It was a very practical lesson. I would just walk out, and if I hear new words, I would always have a pad and a paper, like a pen with me, and just write it down, and then ask my friends what it means, and then I would try to use them.
All right.
So that's how I learned the languages.
But I mean, just for the audience's sake and for my knowledge sake, I just want to ask, if you are going to Pakistan, say for about more than a year, so is it actually important to learn Urdu and Sindhi before you go?
Well, it depends on which part of Pakistan you're going.
Right.
Now, the place that I went is in interior Sindh.
Ah, okay.
If you go to Karachi or if you go to Lahore, you're fine. You know,
and they do people interact in English?
In English, yes.
Right. Okay.
So if you do go to the big cities, it's completely fine. But if you're going to be a student, and particularly in the medical field, to interact with the local patients, then yes, it would be
pretty much like Sri Lanka, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's the same when it's concerned about our neighboring countries. You should basically know them inside out, the locals inside out, when you go to interact with them. Okay, so on that note, we have to go for a commercial break, but we'll be right back with Dr. D and more talk about her.